you're looking for consistency, it doesn't have to be a newsletter. Often people hate newsletters. Why would they care to open that piece of content? If you can answer that, that piece of content is adding considerable value back to that customer. The sky's the limit. Go nuts.
You're listening to Stories from the Top, an inside guide to better business development. We are back once more with Sarah Stockdale of Grow Class. Sarah, thanks again for joining us on the show. And today we're talking about email marketing. Before we dive in, can you just give everyone a real quick recap of who you are and what Grow Class does?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Matt.
Of course.
I'm Sarah Stockdale, the founder of Grow Class. We focus on helping specifically women and underrepresented people, but anyone who's looking to build practical marketing skills that they can apply either to their roles or to getting a role they enjoy a little bit more maybe than their current job. And we work a lot with founders who are looking to build growth strategies and do quite hyper practical education around the things that matter most to their businesses.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we're happy to have you here, especially your expertise on some of these topics. So for email marketing, how do you guys define email marketing?
Any email communications that's going out either to a list that you own, or if you are in the cold emailing business, maybe a list that you don't own but are trying to develop a relationship with. It's the best possible use of time and spend, in my personal opinion, because you own that direct channel to your customers instead of having to hope that Zuckerberg's product managers haven't changed an algorithm that make it impossible to reach your Instagram audience or make your ads 10x more expensive the next day. With email marketing, you have a direct relationship that you own with your customer, and you can get, if you're decent at it, get in front of them consistently without having to mess with an algorithm or pay for ads.
Do you think email marketing is something every business should be doing?
Oh my gosh, yes. Spend more time building your list, nurturing your list, getting really good at nurturing conversions, so sales through email. Do that first. Like you own it's like it's like buying a house and renovating it versus renting a house and renovating it. If you are curating your list, if you are getting really good at email marketing, you are just providing direct investment back into your business all the time. Whereas if you are doing that with your social channels or with your ads or even with kind of content marketing and SEO, you can't necessarily control all of those outcomes. You can't control algorithms. You can't control all of the different ways that ad spend can increase and change, and you can't control what Google's going to do to search results that could change overnight. But you can control that direct relationship you have with your customers over email.
That's actually a really good point. We were just talking about before we started rolling how LinkedIn, if you miss a couple of days of posting, you go to jail with LinkedIn and like no one will see your stuff. But that's such a great point that with email, every time you hit send, as long as your email is not hitting a spam filter, you're getting right to whoever you want it to go to. So how do you guys recommend people go about building their lists for email?
There's a whole bunch of different ways depending on what kind of business you're in. So if you are currently consulting or freelancing, you probably already have a network of businesses that you've worked with that can establish kind of your base. And then what you're going to want to do is incentivize folks to join your list in some way or another. And usually, especially if you're a small business, that's not like a monetary incentive. You're not bribing folks or running a contest because those are really low value subscribers. What you are trying to do is build a piece of content that can be unlocked with that email subscription that is incredibly valuable and incredibly focused on the type of customer that you are looking to bring onto your list. In the early days of Grow Class, I did so much free training. I hosted workshops on anyone who had an audience, anyone who had a list of people who even remotely touched our demographic. I would offer to do a session, and then I would email gate my slides. And so as long as I was good Everyone wanted those slides. And so we would collect a lot of email addresses that way. And that formed kind of the base of our early list. But you have to figure out, A, how are you incentivized to subscribe to something? What do you subscribe to? What do you care about? What do you like? And then what are the answers to those questions for your customers? And then how do you then get in front of them with that offer? So for me, that was doing a lot of training in the early days and then figuring out how to scale that online. For you, it might be creating a high value piece of content and getting it out in other people's newsletters. How do you find places where a lot of your customers hang out online and get in front of them in a way that feels authentic and not spammy so that you can get them that really high value piece of content and get their email address that way? Or you could
That
have
makes a
Taylor
lot
Swift
of
tickets. It's not going to be the subscribers aren't going to be as good, but it'll work really well numbers wise.
So within email marketing, what are some of like the different strategies? I know like just a newsletter to keep yourself regular. Then there's actual like a sales pitch. How do you, like what are the different strategies in email marketing?
Yeah, you're looking for consistency. It doesn't have to be a newsletter. Often people hate newsletters. Like they're getting a lot of them to their inbox. So I would say, and in Grow class we teach the like why the fuck would I care rule. So if you can't
Hmm.
answer why the fuck would your customer care in a real authentic way, like this is a busy person, their dog is barking, their kid needs something, they have 12 deliverables due for work, why would they care to open that piece of content? If you can answer that, you can send as much email as you want. Like if that piece of content is adding considerable value back to that customer, um, the sky's the limit. Go nuts. But if you are sending email for the sake of sending email and you don't have anything that is worthwhile for your customers to spend time on, um, then it's not going to work very well. So if it's a newsletter that you put out monthly to keep yourself consistent, cool. Just answer the why the fuck would I care rule and make sure that there is real value in there for folks. Um, One of the rules that we have is, one email, one call to action. So oftentimes you're like, I don't want to spam people. I'm just going to put 5 links in this email and they can sign up for the event. They can buy a product. They can do a customer interview, like all the things you want them to do, and diminishing returns on every single one of those calls to action. So you get one for the email, one thing, one piece of value, one message, one email.
Keep it focused. Yeah, that makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense. So what are some good ways for someone who's say, oh, I'm not doing email marketing, but I want to get started? What should those first few steps be?
Yeah, find a tool that you really like, and think about what future you would want. So a lot of the time when people are starting email, they're like, "Oh, well, I've heard of Mailchimp, so I guess I'll build my list on Mailchimp." And that's fine if you don't need a lot of capabilities in the future. Sure, go for it. But there's a future version of you that is hoping to segment your list based on location, segment your list based on activity, segment your list based on industry. Um, what are all of the considerations that a future version of you that has 10,000, 100,000 people on that list, what do they need? And then reverse engineer what tool you're going to choose that way. You can always change, but once you start investing in a tool, there's a bit of sunk cost fallacy and you probably won't want to change. So do your best to do your research up front before you commit to a platform, and then figure out how people are getting onto that list and what are you doing. Like what is the plan, what is the strategy here? So a lot of the time people are like, I'm just going to send a newsletter, and someone joins and they send a newsletter every 60 days because they forgot, and people completely forget that they joined the list and they unsubscribe. um,
Hmm.
so there's a consistency piece there and a nurture piece there. So when people are joining, what do you want them to do? Why are they there? um, what is the funnel that you're going to build to nurture them to their first most valuable action? Whether that's buying a product or going to an event, or if you're a nonprofit, donating. How are you taking them through that journey? What are all of the pieces of information that they need along the way? And how are you designing that experience for folks? So maybe they're getting 4 emails in the first 2 weeks. what does that nurture experience look like for those people? And then you can start designing content that way. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to design, you don't have to be super fancy with it. They can be plain text emails from you. And it's probably better if they are in the early days, because you're trying to build a relationship with someone. You're not trying to spam them. The goal is that when they see your name in their inbox, they smile and open it right away. So, how
Hmm.
are you thinking through delivering value in that way and nurturing the people who are joining your list?
Yeah, that's such a good way to think about it when you're like, just look through your email and all the spam and stuff you get.
Yeah.
Which ones are you like, okay, this one's just trying to sell me something. This one's irrelevant. This one's really boring. It's not saying anything. That's like in marketing, we always try to say, frame everything so it's valuable to your customer. Like, no one cares about a big update about how great you're doing. They want to hear stuff that's going to help them and add value to their business. So it's nice to
Yeah.
hear that that's how you guys build out the strategies too.
Yeah, exactly. You are the sidekick. You are not the main character of these narratives. You're just a
Yes.
helper.
Yeah. Do you guys
Yeah.
ever read Story Brand, Donald
Uh,
Miller's book?
I think I think it's on my bookshelf, but I don't think I've actually read it. I think someone gave it to me at some point.
We love that story where it's basically just all your marketing material needs to wrap around as putting your client as the hero and you're just the guide who's going to help them achieve their goal versus what so many people do is just like, we're the best blah 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 company in the world. We've been doing it for this long and this long. We've won all these awards, and it's like, I don't care. How does that relate to me who might or might not need your service? You know?
Yeah, we call that fairy godmother copy because we're like, you're not Dorothy, but if you are using third person narration on your website, like you're telling a story about you instead of telling a story about the protagonist, which is your customer. You get to be Yoda. Like you get to be Glinda the Good
Yeah.
Witch. You don't, well, maybe not in the Wicked scenario. You get to be Elphaba. But like you get to be, you're the helper character. You're not the main character. And so a lot of folks write with main character energy, and I know like that's a cool thing on TikTok, but like it's not a cool thing for marketers. Like you are not the main character. You are at best a janitor who is helping clean up messes and make your client look good. Um, and that's kind of the lens that you have to be applying to everything, or else you end up becoming um, you're talking to nobody. Like a lot of, especially it's like we did this, we launched this new feature, and it's like who are you talking to right now? Like
Yeah.
my kid is crying. What does this have to do with me?
Exactly. Yeah, people's time is precious. And my personal email inbox, I keep that thing as clean as a whistle. I get like no emails. So the very few things that go through are just they check all the boxes. Like, this is either entertaining or it's something that I'm interested in learning more about, or it's a sale on something that, oh, cool, that thing that I actually really love is going on sale. I'm going to check it out. You know, it might be like an audio filter pack or something like that, but it's stuff that
Yeah.
I care about. And there's nothing like a groomed email inbox where it's only stuff you love, because then every email you get, it's exciting because you actually know it's going to be something decent.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
speaking to that, how do you guys coach people to write their stuff so it doesn't just come off as spam? Because there's so much crap getting pounded down everyone's throat from every angle. Like, so we were joking about it on LinkedIn. Like, every day I get like 20 sales as a service people messaging me a million different things. One of them the other day, I was going to make a post about it. I didn't, but it was like, I was really impressed about this and this, which is why I reached out to you on your profile. I was like, oh, what specifically about that did you like? She's like, it just really showed how passionate you guys are. I was like, all right, that's not personalization. It's like, so how do you, and
Yeah.
especially with AI stuff now, like, people are just turning on the floodgates of just automated crap. There's a lot of these people you see, like, they'll be posting on LinkedIn where it's like, this is how I'd set up an automated email campaign to cold outreach 2,000 people a day. And it's like auto personalizing, it's like fully automating this whole giant chain of stuff. And it's just ridiculous. How do you guys encourage people to create content that does not read as spam?
Well, first, you can't be spamming. Like, I feel like a lot of these folks, especially like the like AI cold email bros,
Hmm.
The goal is spamming. Like the goal isn't service. Like, and we're talking about service. Like we are talking about writing things that are in service of a goal that your customer has and fully understanding and caring about that customer and their outcomes. These guys just want a 1% hit rate. Like they want to send 10,000 emails and have a few conversations. And oftentimes they don't want smart folks looking for real service. They want whoever's willing to answer crappy emails. And those are people who are easy to extract money from for no value. Um, neither of us are in the business of that. No one listening to this is in the
Right.
business of that. But like there is an allure to it because they're like, it's so easy, get 10 leads in one day or like whatever it is. It doesn't work. It doesn't bring you high quality customers. It brings you people who are, sorry, suckers who don't understand what a cold email looks like. And you are not growing your brand. You are not growing your credibility. And
You're like
anyone can do it.
destroying your brand.
You're, yeah,
10,000 people a
you're,
day, you know?
oh my gosh, that's a lot of people that are going to hate you. And even if you get the
Hmm.
1% rate and you get the crappy leads, like, sure, I guess that guy was successful, but not in the way that you or I would want to build a company. And it's going to be so easy for someone to replicate everything about your company. They can replicate your content on AI, they can replicate your website, they can replicate your email funnels, they can replicate this crappy AI sales funnel. They can't replicate your credibility. They can't replicate your service. Like there are a lot of things that are going to become, I think, even more important in 2025, 2026 because all of the other stuff is easier. And the hard stuff is where you want to spend your time. Like you want to spend your time creating the kinds of emails that people are excited to open, not the kinds that are like, I saw you went to this university. End of sentence.
Hmm.
Now let me try to sell you something completely unrelated. Um,
Yeah.
you don't want to be that brand. I don't want to be that brand. So we're not going to write content with the goal of scamming or duping. We're going to write content with the goal of being in service of people and building strong brand credibility and strong relationships. And for me, a lot of the time that looks like plain text email that's written in second person narration. I'm writing directly to one person and I'm not scraping lists. Like I'm not doing that nonsense because it is the volume that you have to get any sort of progress there is just grand brand credibility erosion.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
another question I actually had. Plain text. How do you guys like to recommend people do the big HTML super
Yeah.
fancy picture email versus just plain text? I know with deliverability it's like no links, no images within it. Some people recommend you go totally bare bones, just text, and other people, they'll have like a 20-foot long strip of images. How do you guys like to encourage people?
First, it depends what business you're in. If you have a business that people buy on aesthetics, then you need to have a beautiful thing. So if people are buying stick on nails or makeup or Christmas decorations, yeah, you got to show you got to show the product. Like that is they get to window shop and that's like a delightful experience for your customers. So you have to be really good at designing high quality HTML emails with images in them. There's a risk there, and you mentioned it briefly. Um, if there's too much code in your email, it gets cut off. So if you've ever seen at the end of a Gmail message that it says like dot 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 message clipped at the bottom,
Hmm.
that means there was too much code. It was too big. And the problem for email marketers is all of the tracking code is in the footer. So if your email gets clipped because it's too big, you are not getting anything back. Like you are not getting open rates, you're not getting
Uh,
click throughs, like you're getting nothing. So if you are going with highly designed HTML emails, you have to do a really good job of client testing. So test on Outlook, test on Gmail, test on desktop versus mobile. Like make sure that it's not getting clipped and make sure that it's loading properly because sometimes it'll just look like absolute garbage in a couple of different email clients. So you just have to be really, really good at testing and good at designing high quality HTML emails. If you are a company like Grow Class, like we don't have anything beautiful and aesthetic to sell you. So there's no reason for us to risk having our email look like crap. I would much more, I have much more success, and I would recommend, if you are not a highly aesthetic brand, to use plain text email. You can have buttons, go nuts. Like you can have calls to action, you can have links. Just test them and make sure they work. Um, but plain text is always going to load quickly. It's never going to break. It's always going to feel more personal than a highly designed promotional looking email. Especially with things like email newsletters where people feel like they need to have something highly designed. You don't. Like you just don't. It's a risk. Not everyone's very good at that kind of email building, and you tend to, at least in my experience, tend to get better conversion rates with something that looks more personal.
And I don't want to go too off the rails on deliverability question here, but
Yeah.
do you guys fall in the camp of get a second domain like growclass.net or whatever and send your mass emails from there in the event that too many people hit spam, that your whole domain kind of gets a bad rep for spam filtering?
If you're doing spam, definitely do that. If you are doing the AI cold sales emails, yeah, don't send that from your main domain. It's going to make it almost impossible for you to even send email internally to your colleagues. If you are just sending email as a brand and you are thoughtful about cleaning your list and you're thoughtful about how people subscribe, again, if you got like tickets to the Eras tour and you get 200,000 email addresses, they're going to forget the name of your company immediately. And that's a lot of marks of spam. So, how you grow your list matters when it comes to whether or not you should use a secondary domain. If you are doing things above board, if you take Grow Class, if you follow our instructions with deliverability, then for sure you'll be fine with a regular domain. If you are doing anything that is even in a gray area, I would say secondary domain, because you could make a lot of problems for yourself in the future if you don't. But I would just not recommend doing those things.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
not either. Yeah, and looking into the future, I know AI is just going to continue to get more interfaces and APIs to make things easier and easier to where like anyone can set up a insta spam email campaign
Oh yeah.
immediately. What do you see things looking like content wise in the future to kind of combat that? And from my perspective, one of the ways we've worked really hard with making sure our everyone we work with isn't really scared of AI is that quality content is only going to stand out even more, like
Yes.
more personalized and better crafted stuff. Yes, like the sea of crap is going to like rise way higher than it's ever been, but the greater stuff's just going to float even higher than it does, because you can even see it with like social media posts. You can tell when someone just has some robotic little whatever one day very generic marketing tip once a day or some image that looks horrible versus someone who really crafted something that means something and actually is valuable. How do you guys see that relating with email stuff, as inevitably there's just going to be so much crap coming at people from every angle very soon?
Yeah. I think kind of two things are going to happen. One, exactly what you said. We're going to be inundated with more generic, basic, borderline awful content than we've ever seen before. And we're going to get really good at hiding from it. We're going to get really good at identifying uncanny valley style when something hasn't been written by a person or hasn't been heavily edited by a person. Because sure, for sure, like get help if you need it, but you can't send the thing that ChatGPT generated for you out to your subscribers. That's a terrible idea. We're going to get good at identifying uncanny valley style, what the content, what AI content looks like, and we're going to get really, really good at protecting ourselves from garbage. So I went from because I'm a marketer, like if I get cold B2B email, I used to say like please unsubscribe me or whatever and actually respond back to take myself off the funnel. Now I just hit block and mark spam. So I'm becoming more ruthless because of the volume, and I see that happening. We're going to get ruthless with filtering. There are going to be tools that are going to help us filter our inboxes. So having a list that is quality, that wants to see things from you, and that has white labeled you in the inbox so that you are always going to appear, that's going to be incredibly important. The other thing is we're gonna hide on other platforms, and we're already starting to see it. So Meta, Facebook, saw their first user decline ever in 2021, and now they've stopped reporting. They've stopped reporting on demographics and also on user counts because we know who's on there. We're going to start seeing people kind of flee places where they're being heavily advertised to and go into kind of micro communities where they can manage more human authenticity. And so brands who are over indexing on crap content generated by AI, funnels generated by AI, kind of spam bots, humans are going to get really good at hiding from you. And so that's going to be a really big problem for your business.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks again. That was super awesome to get to hear all your guys' insights on that. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to learn more of these tips? Is there a class they might be able to take to
Yeah.
learn their email marketing?
Yeah, come hang out. We've got a whole certification if you're interested in all the kind of facets of growth marketing. But if you just want email, we have a standalone email marketing course. You're welcome to come and hang out with us. We would love to meet you. And that's at growclass.co and growclass on all social platforms out there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sarah. We have one more episode coming up. We're going to talk about experimental marketing. I'm super excited for that. So we will see you there.
Thank you so much.
Stories from the Top is your guide to successful business development. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or find Edge of Cinema on YouTube. Stories from the Top is an Edge of Cinema production, hosted by Matthew Skura and Jeremy Schmidt. To learn more or get in touch, visit edgeofcinema.com/podcast.